that way, and I think it was necessary because you have two great bands now.
I was about to say it's fate. We wouldn't have had Megadeth, and we wouldn't have got to see you really charge out. I mean, you never want to toot your horn and say that you really were there to help crystallize Metallica.
Well, it was the three of us, yeah. You know, I can't take any credit for James's songwriting ability or his guitar playing ability.
He is a poet.
He blew my mind when he picked up the guitar the first time because he used to just sing, and I did all the guitar playing, and in fact I talked between every song too. And when he picked up the guitar the first time, I remember watching him, and I was like, oh my God, this guy's really, really good. And in fact, it almost intimidated me. I was a gunslinger at the time, so I wasn't really that flappable, but I watched him, I was just like, wow, this guy's really good, and so that's part of the reason I had such a difficult time letting go and just thinking, it's just another band, just like most people that are in bands, they look at a band as being, kind of like having a, game of cards or something like that, but it was tribal, it was communal, it was like really important to all of us. I remember when we first went up to San Francisco, we were doing blood packs with the guys in Exodus and, cutting our hands and, doing stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy times, the Satanic Bible was everywhere and we were doing all kinds of stuff. Well, I'm not going to say they were because I don't know what they were doing, but I know what I was doing while I was part of the band because, there was just an energy that was around it where you just felt like, you were bulletproof.
After you left, but continuing, the writing is amazing, like Justice for All and just all the themes. What can you tell us about James, where that type of stuff comes from, his background? I mean, you've got to be pretty in tune and smart to write stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that James and I have a lot in common with our parents and some of the hardships we had growing up, being kind of awkward and not socially the center of attention and stuff like that. So I think a lot of it could be inspired by the same emotions that I did, kind of like, stuff that I believed I wanted to share with people or other things that I thought, you're missing the point here. A lot of the songs I wrote back in the beginning of my career are just as relevant now as they were back in the 80s when I wrote them. And in fact, the song Rest in Peace I wrote when I was a teenager before I was in my first band. So,
wow.
That song was back when I wrote Jump in the Fire, Mechanics, and Rest in Peace. Those are my first three songs I wrote. Hangar 18 was the fourth one. And I never showed those guys Rest in Peace. I did show it to this band called Child Saint, which was this bar band from Orange County somewhere. And KNAC was popular at the time. And me and David Ellison are driving down the road. And Dave's nickname is Junior because there's two of us, and I'm the older one. So we're listening to KNAC, and all of a sudden I hear my music, and I'm frozen solid in anger.
Oh yeah.
You know what? You could have hit me.
It's
with
that feeling of yeah.
I was so mad. My butt grew together. I was going to kill these guys. And at the end of the song, the DJ goes, and that was Child Saint by Child Saint. And I went like, oh my God, they stole my song title for a name for their band too. So, because Rest in Peace was actually called Child Saint when I first wrote it. And I remember, when you first start, you never think that crap's going to happen to you. The drummer from the Circle Jerks, when he found out we were called Megadeth, Megadeth, he went out and copywrote the name Megadeth with the proper spelling and charged us $10,000 to get our name back. That's the kind of dirtbags that are in.
No, it blows you away, the chicken shit stuff that goes on.
Yeah, it was pretty uncool. I mean, I kind of sort of know the guy through separate circles, and I don't really know if he's a good guy or a bad guy or anything like that, but that act was pretty unctuous, and especially between two musicians. I know that the guy was kind of playing music as a hobby, but I like the Circle Jerks, and that pretty much closed the chapter on me ever listening to them again, because I just felt, God, you know how hard we're trying to survive, man. Me and Dave are living in a studio and we're panhandling money to eat. You're best buds with my manager, so you know this. Yet you're gonna, try and nail us for 10 grand. He got it.
Now you're legendary for not taking crap, and I respect that. I mean, did they get a stomping for what they did?
Well, I think him having to spend the rest of his life being a CPA is a good enough stomp.
Exactly. What comes around goes around.
Yeah, because the music industry has a way of taking care of its own. And even though I didn't ask for any help from anybody, I think that, if you wet the bed, you got to sleep in it sometimes. And there's a lot of people who don't like me. sometimes it's because, you know, they'll ask me to do something for them, and I just say no. You know, it's not like I say no, mofo, you know, anything like this, or have, you know, their tires slashed or get a beating or anything like that.
Dave, people always take a shot at success.
Yeah, they do. It's because, you know, they want an easier, softer way. But I think that, you know, us as a race, we're wired inherently to want to do good and to want to succeed. I mean, you know, that feeling we get, we don't get a feeling, that rush that we get when we do something good for somebody the same way that we do when we do something bad. It's a totally different feeling.
Exactly. I spend all my time trying to not accidentally screw somebody because it's not that it's even like some code. I just want people to know I do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And then I see other people who like have no scruples. They think it's like some power they've got that they'll screw everybody. I'm like, no, they don't get it. Because I just instinctively know when you do something to people, it comes back 7 times.
Yeah, and most times, sometimes it doesn't even get an opportunity to get 7 times. The person pays with their life. Like there was a Satanist who, when I got saved, I told my tour manager, I mean my agent, you know what, I have to kind of take this slow because, you know, my arms hurt and I don't know if I'm ever going to play again. If I do play, you know, there's certain things I kind of want to veer away from. You know, I don't want to play with any satanic bands. I'll play with bands that have darkness in them because we all have a little darkness in us or we wouldn't be human. But guys that are confessed Satanists and, you know, I just don't really have time for that. You know, it's not part
My
of
problem is I feel violent around those people.
Well, I've been able.
I mean, I want to, you know.
Yeah, I can control my emotions because, you know, I know that you know it's not the sinner, it's the sin, and
Exactly.
you know it's like that whole thing about, you know, me being against gay marriage. You know, I have the same position that Hillary Clinton and Obama have towards the gays. You know, look it up. You know, I'm a Christian. I'm a heterosexual man. It's like, you know, me worrying about cat owners. I don't like cats, you know. I don't have anything against them, but I don't want one, you know. I mean, I mean, that's a really crazy connection.
No, I get it. I'm sick of having it shoved in my face, whatever issue it is. It's like people kissing in front of you or, you know, for no reason or whatever. It's just like, it's forcing an idea on you that I'm not even attacking people, but it's just like, don't attack me for the way I am. You know, I have my preference. I have who I am. And then don't wage war against marriage and families and all of that.
For me, the whole thing, you know, when people ask me questions and stuff like that, I've got to kind of take I got to think, okay, what's my role here in life? Is it to be the fly in the ointment and to always go around, you know, complaining and pointing out people's faults and stuff? Or is it, you know, because I went that road and I felt like I had this entitlement to stuff because, you know, man, I worked so hard, you know, they did this and this guy did that and stuff. And I finally started to get this real incredible peace that settled over me. And it just changed things. Changed a lot of stuff with touring. It changed a lot of stuff with working together. Like the thing with Metallica and Ellefson both came from, you know, it was motivated based around us getting together and having this reconciliation. And the friendship was rekindled. And look at all the great that's come out of it. I mean, so many kids saw a lesson in forgiveness between me and Ellefson. So many people saw a lesson in reconciliation between me and Metallica. You know, this has been, you know, besides what's going on in our government, which, you know, as much as they want to act like entertainers, they should take a note maybe from, you know, how entertainers get along. You know, not act like them, but see how they work together.
Well, in my own life, having now 15 million listeners a week, I'm getting to experience, because I never got into this trying to be a celebrity. I had information I want to put out, kind of like an artist or a musician has something that's just exploding from them. You want to put it out there. You want to be appreciated. But I had no idea what it was like to have people kind of put you up on a pedestal. You're still just a regular person, but they think you've got some magic special something. And then when you can't deliver it to them or somehow give it to them, then they seem to get upset just because you're trying to walk down the road and walk your dog, and you got to get home in 10 minutes, and they're mad that you won't sit there and talk to them. And then it hurts because they want a little piece of you, and you just don't have it to give.
Yeah, well, it's like 2 examples to give you real quick. I was in Canada just recently, and some guy was out in front of the hotel, and we walked right past him, and he didn't recognize me. So I didn't think he was a fan. So we go to the show, and we had this really great thing from Live Nation where they had the ticket holders could upgrade their tickets to where they could meet us and have like a backstage party and then get first seating and all that great stuff. And this guy comes up, you know, the four of us just standing there, and all these fans are coming in. They stand in the middle, and they take a picture, and they move on, or two people, and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And everybody's laughing because they're all listening to how we're interacting with these guys. And then all of a sudden, this guy walks up, and I go put my hand out. I don't recognize him from Adam because, you know, he was just a guy on the street. And then he goes, "You snubbed me at the hotel." He wouldn't shake my hand. I said, "Okay, well, fuck you then." And I walked out of the picture, and everyone's like, "What's going on?" And the security guy comes up to me, and he goes, "Don't worry, I haven't liked that guy since he got here. As soon as the show starts, I'm throwing him out." And I said, "Well, don't do that." But, you know, and see, for me before, the guy that I used to be when I felt like the world owed me something, I would have said, yeah, as soon as the doors are open, kick him out, beat him up on the way out, you know. But, you know.
No, it's sad that obviously he was looking, that's what a stalker does. They look for some personal way. I've learned they want you to slight them so that then they can attack you. It's really weird. Learning all the psychology, and of course, then you go and meet whole families with their kids with these beautiful awake eyes, and that's what makes it so good. But then there's the people who love you, but they hate the fact that they like you. So it's like some kind of weird little relationship they want. You are so nice, Dave. You were going to come out and see me in Austin a few months ago. You and your wife, who's awesome, Pam, and you called me and said, listen, I know we said we were coming out there, you know, to talk to you about, you know, world events and stuff, but I hope it's okay to tell the story. But you're like, is it okay?
I hope so.
No, but you're like, listen, I apologize. I can't come out. You know, I'm not feeling too well right now. And I said, Dave, don't worry about it, man. Whatever. That's great. I'm just honored that you want to, you know, come out and, you know, hang out and stuff. We've, you know, known each other, talked on the phone a lot over the years, met a few times. Then all of a sudden I hear like, Dr. Wapner, and ambulances and stuff. And I'm like, where are you? You go, well, I'm in the hospital. Now I learn you couldn't even walk. And here you are, because most even famous people, even if they're great people, they know they're important, they're busy, they learn to not care about other folks. Here you are calling me up, you know, to tell me, hey, I can't come out there, you know, next week. And then later I learned you're like in such pain you couldn't even walk. So I'm just blown away that you would like actually call me. And they wouldn't tell me, by the way, I can't even walk and I'm in a hospital bed. I mean.
Well, funny thing is, you know, your parents tell you stuff when you're growing up and you kind of, it's one in one ear and out the other ear. And my mom used to tell me when she watched me play guitar to stop shaking my head because I was going to, you know, rattle something loose up there. And she was kind of mocking me. My mom had a pretty weird sense of humor. And the irony is that last summer while we were out doing Mayhem, my arm went numb again, and I had to finish the Mayhem tour with only 2 fingers working.
Wow.
And our songs require more than 2 fingers, you know. So I had to think in my mind as we were playing, oh my God, how do I jump from here to here and do the solos with 2 fingers and stuff? And so the time came where I finally needed to have the surgery because I have arthritis problems, stenosis, degenerative disc disease, and when they looked inside the x-rays, they said, well, you need 2 surgeries right now. You need a fusion and you need a framinectomy, which is they go in on each side of the vertebra and they drill around your nerves. And if they go like, you know, you've lost that nerve. And fortunately for me, the first doctor who saw us was a really close friend of ours, took us to the hospital room. My son walked in and I was on the floor just sobbing in pain because it was unlike anything I've ever felt. And I